You think you know why the year starts on January 1st. You think it's science. You think it's astronomy. You think it's because the Earth has completed a perfect mathematical lap around the sun. But you are wrong. The Earth doesn't care about January 1st. For most of human history, the year began in March, when the flowers bloomed and the snow melted. So why are you freezing in the dead of winter celebrating a new beginning? It makes zero biological sense. The answer isn't in the stars, it's in the mud. We celebrate January 1st because of a war you've never heard of, a general who was late for work, and a political crime that broke time itself. In 1533, the Roman Senate didn't just change the calendar, they weaponized it. And the reason you are hung over on New Year's Day is because 2,000 years ago, a man named Quintus Fulvius Nobilior needed to get to Spain before he was killed. This is the story of how a political panic became the rhythm of your life. To understand the crime, we have to look at the victim, the calendar. Imagine a year with only 10 months. It sounds like madness, but to the original Romans, it was pure logic. Their year began in Martius, March, named after Mars, the god of war. Why March? Because you can't fight in the winter. You can't grow food in the winter. So for the Romans, winter simply didn't exist. They had a period of about 61 days called winter that wasn't assigned to any month. It was just dead time. The year stopped in December and woke up again in March. It was biological. It was solar. It made sense. But systems that make sense rarely survive politics. The second king of Rome, Numa Pompilius, looked at this dead time and saw chaos. He added 2 new months to the end of the year, Januarius and Februarius. But Numa was superstitious. He believed even numbers were unlucky, so he butchered the math. He made the months 29 or 31 days long, and the year 355 days long. But the solar year is 365 days. The math didn't work. The calendar began to drift. To fix this, the Romans invented a leap month called Mercedonius, but they didn't add it automatically. A priest had to declare it, and that is where the corruption begins. The Pontifex Maximus, the high priest, held the power to add Mercedonius, but the pontiff wasn't just a priest, he was a politician. Imagine if the president could decide to make an election year 13 months long just to stay in power. That is exactly what happened. If the pontiff's allies were in power, he would discover that the calendar was drifting and insert a leap month, giving them extra time to collect taxes. If his enemies were in power, he would refuse to add the month, forcing them out early. Time became a commodity. It was bought and sold. By the 1st century BC, the calendar was a disaster. Harvest festivals were landing in the dead of winter. The Roman people didn't know what day it was. They only knew what the politicians told them it was. Before we get to the war that changed everything, I want you to check the date on your phone right now. Seriously, look at it. Do you trust it, or do you just trust that Apple and Google know what day it is? Let me know in the comments if you'd survive in a world where the government could delete February. But the breaking point wasn't corruption, it was war. The year is 154 BC. In the rugged hills of Spain, a tribe called the Belli is building a wall around their city, Segeta. Rome hates walls. They violate treaties. The Senate declares war. But there is a logistical nightmare. The consuls, the generals who lead the army, don't take office until the Ides of March. By the time the new consul, Quintus Fulvius Nobilior, can be sworn in, raise an army, and march from Italy to Spain, the summer will be over. The Senate faces a choice: lose the war or break the calendar. They choose to break the calendar. They decree that for the year 153 BC, the consuls will not start in March, they will start on the calends of January, January 1st. This gives nobilior 2 extra months to mobilize. It was a temporary emergency measure, a wartime hack. But once the bureaucracy shifted, it never shifted back. The new year was no longer about the sun or the flowers. It was about logistics. The irony, it didn't work. Nobilior arrived early, but he marched his army into a trap. On August 23, 153 BC, the Celtiberians ambushed him in a dense forest. 6,000 Romans died. It was such a catastrophe that Rome declared the day a dies adder, a black day. They never fought on that day again, but they kept the January 1st start date. The war was a failure, but the administrative change was permanent. Nobilior's war fixed the start date, but the calendar was still a lunar mess. Enter Julius Caesar. Fresh from Egypt and his affair with Cleopatra, Caesar brought back more than just victory. He brought back an astronomer named Sosigenes. Sosigenes told Caesar what the Egyptians had known for centuries. The solar year is 365.25 days. The moon is irrelevant. Caesar, now dictator, decided to fix time once and for all. But first, he had to pay the debt of lost time. The year 46 BC. To realign the calendar with the sun, Caesar added 3 extra months to that single year. 46 BC lasted 445 days. It was the year of confusion. Imagine paying rent for a 15-month year. Imagine the interest on your loans. But it worked. On January 1st, 45 BC, the Julian calendar began. It was a solar calendar, stable and predictable. The pontiffs lost their power to manipulate time, as Cicero joked when he saw the constellation Lyra rising. Yes, it rises by decree. Even the stars now obeyed Caesar. For 1,600 years, Caesar's calendar ruled the West. But it had a tiny flaw. It was 11 minutes off every year. 11 minutes doesn't seem like much, but over 16 centuries, it adds up. By the 1700s, Britain was 11 days out of sync with the rest of Europe. If you took a boat from France to England, you literally traveled back in time 11 days. In 1752, Parliament finally capitulated. They cut 11 days out of September. People went to sleep on September 2nd and woke up on September 14th. The legend says they rioted, shouting, "Give us our 11 days." Historians now think the riots were a myth, a meme of the 18th century, invented by satirists like Hogarth. But the sentiment was real. We feel possessive of our time. When the government touches the clock, we panic. So why does the year start on January 1st? Not because of the stars, not because of nature. It starts there because a corrupt republic needed to deploy an army to Spain, and a dictator wanted to strip priests of their power. It is a monument to bureaucracy, war, and political will. But perhaps that fits. January is named for Janus, the two-faced god. One face looks back at the chaos of history, the political crimes, and the wars. The other looks forward to the clean slate of the future. We raise a glass not to the sun, but to the messy human history of time itself. If you enjoyed this, you need to hear about the 11 days Agatha Christie lost in 1926. Click here to watch that mystery unfold.